Right. So welcome everyone to a deep dive into BTS.
BTS.
Yeah, a group that went from like just this small K-pop group to like, I mean, a global phenomenon. And we've got a ton of sources here. We got like bios, social media posts, chart data, all this stuff to
Yeah.
like figure out, how they did it. So like
Yeah.
if anyone's looking to, really understand BTS's impact, even if you're not super deep into K-pop or whatever, like
Yeah.
this is the place to be.
What's really interesting is, their journey is kind of a lesson in itself. It's like a lesson in how to build like a really devoted fan base, and how to like keep evolving creatively and, how to like break down barriers in the music industry, really.
So like, let's rewind, right? Let's
Yeah.
go back to 2010, Seoul, South Korea. So we got like Big Hit Entertainment, and they're like a much smaller company compared to like the K-pop giants out there.
Yeah.
And they formed BTS, which stands for Bangtan Sonyeondan, which translates to Bulletproof Boy Scouts in English. And like their whole thing was, to create music that like acted as a shield for young people facing, all these societal pressures.
Interesting. Interesting. So thinking about the individual members, it's interesting to consider like their backgrounds too, like RM was already kind of making a name for himself in the underground rap scene, like Suga, he was initially like signed on as a producer.
Oh, wow.
And J-Hope, I mean,
Yeah.
dance prodigy, right? And Jin almost went down this path of becoming an actor.
Wow, it's crazy how like their paths like all converged, but it wasn't all like smooth sailing from there, right?
Absolutely not.
They had like some serious challenges in those early days.
Absolutely. I mean, there was financial uncertainty, right? They had to deal with like cramped dorm life and
Right.
and even like skepticism, right? Skepticism from people in the industry, people who doubted them,
Yeah.
They didn't think they were going to make it big. And there was even like a point, right, in 2018 where the pressure, the exhaustion, it was so intense that they almost disbanded.
Wow, I can't even imagine like how tough that decision must have been. But their like resilience, their dedication, it really shines through in moments like that. And
Mhm.
speaking of dedication, we got to talk about their connection with fans, right?
Yeah.
Like this is something BTS really like revolutionized in the K-pop landscape, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. Most K-pop groups back then, they, maintained like a certain distance from their fans.
Right.
But BTS, they kind of flipped the script, right? They really embraced like social media, YouTube, Twitter, fan cafes, all of it. And they used it,
Good.
to connect directly with their audience, to show their personalities, their struggles, their everyday lives.
So like instead of the typical like polished image,
Mhm.
they were giving fans like a behind the scenes look
Right.
at who they were, like both as individuals and as a group, right?
Exactly. It was this like new level of intimacy for K-pop idols. Things like, Eat Jin, where Jin would just like share meals with fans, chat with them,
Right.
or run BTS where they would do like all these crazy challenges, activities, all sorts of stuff. It helped like break down those barriers and
Yeah.
create like a genuine connection,
It makes you wonder like did that constant interaction, did it ever present any unique challenges for them? Like
Yeah.
was there ever any pushback from the industry or fans?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were definitely some like growing pains, right? Being like so open and accessible. I mean, that meant exposing themselves to more scrutiny, right? I mean, both positive and negative. But ultimately, it was this direct engagement with fans that really fueled their rise and allowed them to cultivate, such a devoted fan base.
So let's talk music. Let's talk about their musical evolution. They started, with like this clear hip hop sound, but they really didn't shy away from like exploring other genres.
They-
Like how would you describe like the arc of their musical journey?
It's been a constant evolution, they've woven in like pop, R&B, even like EDM influences.
Wow.
But they've always like maintained their unique identity, And I think this genre bending approach, it broadened their appeal, it attracted a wider audience beyond just K-pop fans.
And they didn't just like perform the music, they wrote it, they produced it.
Yeah,
Like that level of creative control was pretty rare in K-pop, wasn't it, back then?
it was. Yeah, most groups really relied heavily on their agencies for like the songwriting and production.
Yeah.
But BTS, having a hand in in crafting their own sound. It allowed their music to be like a true reflection of who they were as artists,
Right.
which, resonated deeply with fans.
Okay, let's dive into like their lyrics for a sec.
Yeah.
One thing that stands out to me is they don't shy away from tackling like these complex themes, right?
Yeah, you're right. They address, issues like mental health, societal pressures, self-love, topics that a lot of like young people, around the world grapple with.
Yeah.
And their willingness to be like vulnerable and honest in their music, it created this sense of connection and understanding that went beyond like the typical pop song.
Yeah, it's interesting because they were speaking to a generation, not just about like, partying or heartbreak.
Yeah.
They're talking about like these real like universal experiences, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And they did it in a way that was both relatable and empowering. Their lyrics often encourage like self-acceptance, resilience, and the pursuit of dreams.
It's clear they like struck a chord with a massive audience, and not just in South Korea. Let's shift our focus to their breakthrough in the US market.
Okay.
It wasn't like an overnight success story, was it?
Not at all. They had this gradual climb, right?
Yeah.
Their first Billboard entry was back in 2015. And it took a few years for them to like really explode onto the scene.
Right. So what were some of those early milestones in the US? Like when did things really start to like shift?
Well, their performance at the American Music Awards in 2017, that was a real turning point,
Yeah.
It introduced them to like a mainstream American audience and it generated a lot of buzz. And then in 2020, Dynamite, their first all English single, that became like a global smash hit.
That was like huge for them. Like what do you think was behind the massive success of Dynamite? Was it simply the English lyrics, or was there like something more at play?
The English lyrics, they definitely broadened their appeal, right? But it was also like the timing, Dynamite was released during the pandemic, a time when people were really craving like joy and escape.
Oh yeah.
And the songs, upbeat energy and message of positivity, it really resonated with people.
It seems like they had like this knack for capturing like the zeitgeist, like connecting with what people needed at that moment.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about BTS's success without mentioning ARMY,
ARMY.
Their fan base.
Yeah, ARMY is, more than just a fan base, They're a force to be reckoned with,
Yeah.
Their dedication, their organization, and global reach, it's been instrumental in amplifying, BTS's music and their message.
Oh, we've heard stories of like ARMY like mobilizing to get BTS's music on the charts.
Oh, yeah.
Like translating their content into like countless language, even matching their charitable donations, right?
Yeah.
It's a level of dedication you don't see every day. How has like this level of fan support, like how has it really impacted BTS's career?
Well, it's been a double-edged sword in some ways, right?
Okay.
On the one hand, ARMY's dedication has undoubtedly like propelled BTS to new heights, driving their sales, their streams, their global recognition. But, on the other hand, the intensity of their devotion, it can also create like this immense pressure. There's this constant expectation for BTS to like live up to their image, to meet the demands of their fan base,
Right.
which can be, overwhelming.
So while like ARMY support has been crucial, it's also like added like this layer of complexity to their journey.
It has. It's a unique dynamic that highlights the evolving relationship between artists and fans in this digital age.
Let's fast forward to the present.
Okay.
So right now, the members of BTS, they're fulfilling their mandatory military service
Right.
in South Korea, right?
Right.
But even with like the staggered enlistments and discharge dates, like they've been busy, man,
Oh, they have. Yeah, you're right.
with individual projects and stuff.
We've seen J-Hope headlining Lollapalooza, right?
Wow, yeah.
Jin collaborating with Coldplay and solo albums from RM, Suga, Jimin, V, and Jungkook all making waves.
I'm curious, like how do their individual styles differ? Like does their solo work give us any hints about like the future direction of the group?
Well, it's fascinating to see how their individual personalities, and their artistic visions shine through in their solo work, J-Hope's Jack the Box, that was a bold departure,
Yeah.
exploring like these darker themes and more experimental sounds. And then you have Jimin's Face, which, showcased his vocal prowess and his emotional depth,
So they're really using this time to to experiment, to like grow as individual artists.
Exactly. And while it's, it's hard to say definitively like what it means for the future of DTS,
Hmm.
it does suggest this willingness to continue evolving, to push boundaries and to surprise their audience, the strategic move to pursue these solo endeavors during their military service. It also ensures, their individual growth,
Yeah.
and it maintains their presence in the music scene. It's a testament to their long-term vision,
It's impressive to see how they're like using this time to their advantage.
Yeah.
Of course, like no deep dive into BTS would be complete without acknowledging like the controversies they faced
You're right.
along those lines.
Right. There have been, accusations of plagiarism
Mhm.
early in their career, which they addressed and apologized for.
Right.
And some of their lyrics sparked, debates about cultural sensitivity, which, led to important conversations
Yeah.
and growth on their part.
It's a reminder that even with their like positive message and global impact, like they're human
Yeah,
and they've made mistakes.
they have.
How have they like navigated these controversies, and
Uh,
what impact have they had on their image?
Well, they've generally handled these situations with like a mix of apology and a willingness to learn, They've acknowledged their shortcomings, they've engaged in dialogue with those they've offended, and they've demonstrated a commitment to doing better.
So instead of like shying away from their mistakes, they've tried to use them as opportunities for growth, you know?
Exactly. And this approach has resonated with many fans who see it as a sign of their authenticity and humility,
Right.
It also reinforces their message of self-love and acceptance.
It seems like they're constantly learning, evolving, and striving to be better,
Yeah.
both as artists and as individuals.
Yeah.
And that's a message that resonates with people, no matter what language they speak or where they come from.
It's a message that lies at the heart of their story.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into the phenomenon that is BTS.
Yep.
We talked about like their humble beginnings, their groundbreaking approach to fan engagement, their musical evolution, and the challenges they faced, along the way.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What else can we like unearth in this stack of sources?
Well, we've only scratched the surface, right? Next, we're going to delve deeper into their individual journeys, their creative process, and the impact they've had on global culture. So get ready for a closer look at the 7 members who make up BTS, the army that supports them, and the legacy they're building,
All right, sounds good. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. It's amazing to consider, like how they went from like that small dorm room to like becoming one of the biggest boy bands on the planet.
It really is a remarkable journey, and they didn't just like break records; they obliterated them, right? Like they became the first Korean act to top the Billboard 200 multiple times.
I mean, albums like Love Yourself, Tear, Map of the Soul, Persona, they prove that. Like, music can transcend language barriers. They just shattered expectations.
And speaking of breaking barriers,
Mm-hmm.
like their performance at the American Music Awards in 2017, it was like electrifying.
Yeah.
Like it was a defining moment for K-pop in the US, right?
It really was like a cultural turning point. They introduced like a whole new sound and style to like a mainstream audience,
Right.
And America embraced it.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about the music either, right? Like their message of self-love and acceptance, like it resonated deeply with fans worldwide.
Absolutely. Their Love Myself campaign, in collaboration with UNICEF, that became a global phenomenon.
Right.
It encouraged like young people to embrace their individuality and stand up against like violence and negativity.
And let's not forget their powerful speech at the United Nations in 2018.
Yeah.
Urging, young people to find their voice and speak out about the issues they care about. What did you think of that speech? What struck you as like particularly impactful?
Well, their emphasis on using your voice for good, on speaking up for what you believe in, I think that resonated like deeply with a generation that's increasingly engaged in social issues.
Yeah.
It went beyond like the typical platitudes, and it felt like genuinely authentic.
So they've shown that pop music can be more than just like catchy tunes,
Right.
right? It can be a force for good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now with all this success, it's easy to forget like the struggles they faced, early on.
It's true. I mean, their early years were marked by like financial instability and industry doubt. They came from like a relatively small entertainment company, not one of the like K-pop powerhouses.
Yeah.
And they were constantly pushing boundaries, experimenting with their sound and their image.
Which probably didn't always sit well with everyone.
Funny enough.
Right. Like, I imagine there was some resistance to their unconventional approach.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely pushback from some within the industry who saw them as a threat, right, to the established order. And they faced criticism from those who, felt they were straying too far from the traditional K-pop formula.
So they were navigating, like, not only the typical challenges of, like, a new group.
Right.
But also pushing against, like, the norms of the industry itself.
Exactly. They were disrupting the status quo, which, often comes with its own set of challenges,
But they persevered.
They did.
Right, and that resilience, like, that's a huge part of their story.
Right.
It's something their fans, ARMY, like, really admire about them.
ARMY's dedication is legendary. I mean, they've mobilized to support BTS in countless ways, from streaming their music, buying albums, to translating their content into like dozens of languages.
Mm-hmm. They really are like a global network of superfans, like united by their love for BTS and their commitment to like spreading their message.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to use their collective power for good.
Right. We've seen incredible examples of their like fundraising efforts matching, BTS's donations to various charities and causes. They've also been like vocal advocates for social justice issues, using their platform to raise awareness and promote positive change.
So they're not just like passive consumers of music, right? Mm-hmm. They're active participants in shaping the world around them.
Exactly. And that level of engagement is a testament to the power of fandom in the digital age.
Okay, we talked a lot about the past. Let's look ahead.
Yeah.
2025 marks their full group comeback, right?
Yeah.
After military service.
Right.
What kind of BTS will we see? Like, what are your predictions?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've already proven that they're not afraid to evolve. We've seen incredible solo work from each member showcasing like their individual artistry and growth. J-Hope headlining Lollapalooza, Jimin topping the Billboard Hot 100 as a soloist, Jungkook's single 7 featuring Lotto.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, what will they create when they reunite as a group,
It does feel like a new chapter is about to begin. Will they lean into a more mature sound?
Yeah.
Explore like new genres, like
Yep.
the possibilities are endless.
I think we can expect them to continue pushing boundaries, experimenting with new sounds, and collaborating with different artists. I mean, they've always been innovators, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
And how do you think like their individual growth during their solo careers, like how will that impact their dynamic as a group?
Well, I think it will only strengthen their bond. They've had this time to explore their own individual paths, to hone their skills and discover new facets of their artistry.
So when they come back together, they'll be bringing all of that experience and growth to the table, which could lead to something truly special.
Exactly. It's an exciting prospect.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about their global impact, their music, their fan base.
Yeah.
But what about like the individuals behind the phenomenon, right?
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the hype and forget that BTS is made up of 7 unique individuals,
Right.
Each with their own, personalities, talents, and stories.
Let's take a closer look at each member.
Okay.
Starting with RM, the leader, the rapper, the brainiac. What sets him apart?
Well, Kim Namjoon, better known as RM, he's often described as like the intellectual heart of BTS. He's fluent in English, which has been like instrumental in their global communication.
Yeah.
And he's known for his thoughtful lyrics and speeches.
I've always been impressed by his ability to like articulate complex ideas in a way that's both like insightful and engaging.
He's a deep thinker who's not afraid to tackle, complex issues in his music, and he's constantly pushing himself creatively,
Yeah.
exploring different genres and collaborating with with other artists.
Then there's Jin, the eldest member,
Yeah.
the vocalist, the mom of the group.
Right, right.
What are some of his defining characteristics?
Well, Kim Seok-shin or Jin, he's known for his stunning vocals, his playful personality, and his love for food.
Right.
Remember his Eat Jin series?
I do.
It was a fan favorite.
Yeah, it was so endearing. It showed like a different side of him,
Yeah,
a more relaxed and playful side.
he's the life of the party,
Yeah.
always cracking jokes and bringing a sense of lightheartedness to the group.
Yeah.
But he's also a dedicated artist
Real.
who's constantly working to improve his craft. His collaboration with Coldplay on The Astronaut, that's a testament to his musicality.
Next up, Suga, the rapper, the producer, the quiet genius.
Min Yoongi or Suga, he's known for his sharp rapping skills, his introspective lyrics, and his behind the scenes production work.
He's got this quiet intensity that's captivating.
He does. He's a musical mastermind who's played a key role in shaping BTS's sound. He's also like incredibly passionate about mental health awareness.
Yeah.
And has been open about his own struggles, which has resonated deeply with fans. His solo work under the name Aegis D is often like darker and more introspective, exploring like themes of identity and societal pressures.
Then we have J-Hope, the dancer, the rapper, sunshine personified.
Jung Ho-seok, better known as J-Hope, he's the ultimate performer. He's got this incredible stage presence, infectious energy, and a smile that can light up a room.
His energy is contagious. You can't help but smile when you watch him perform.
You can't. He's known for his intricate dance moves, his positive vibes, and his ability to connect with audiences on like a visceral level. And let's not forget his solo album, Jack in the Box, which showcased his artistic versatility and his willingness to experiment with different sounds. It was a critical and commercial success.
Next, we have Jimin, the vocalist, the dancer, the ethereal beauty.
Park Jimin or Jimin. He's known for his angelic vocals, his graceful dance moves, and his captivating stage presence. He's got this duality to him, powerful and charismatic on stage, but sweet and gentle off stage.
His duality is fascinating.
It is.
He seems to like effortlessly shift between these different personas.
He does. He's a perfectionist who pushes himself to his limits, always striving to deliver the best possible performance. And his solo album Face, that top charts worldwide, proving his immense talent and global appeal.
Then there's V, the vocalist, the visual, the enigma.
Kim Tae-young or V, he's known for his deep, soulful vocals, his striking visuals, and his unique, sometimes quirky personality. He's got this air of mystery about him that draws people in.
He's definitely the most unpredictable member. You never know what he's going to do or say next.
You don't. He's a natural artist with a keen eye for fashion and photography. His solo work has showcased his musical range and his ability to convey like raw emotions through his music.
And last but not least, we have Jungkook, the maknae, the golden maknae.
Jungkook or Jungkook, he's the youngest member of BTS, and he's often referred to as the golden maknae because he excels at everything he does.
He's incredibly talented.
He is.
It's almost unfair how good he is at everything.
It is. He can sing, he can dance, he can rap, he can even produce music. He's also like incredibly athletic and competitive, always striving to be the best. And his solo single, 7, featuring Lotto, that top charts worldwide, solidifying his position as a global superstar.
So there you have it, the 7 members of BTS, each with their own, unique talents and personalities, all contributing to the groups. Like, incredible success.
It's a testament to their synergy, their brotherhood, and their shared passion for music. And it's one of the many reasons why fans around the world adore them.
Now, before we get too sentimental, let's inject a bit of fun into this deep dive, right?
Okay.
We've talked about their accomplishments, their struggles, their personalities.
Yeah.
But what about like some of the quirky behind the scenes moments that make BTS so endearing?
Oh, there are plenty of those. From their chaotic live streams to their hilarious dance challenges. There's never a dull moment with these
I
guys.
mean, who could forget like Jungkook's like iconic carpool karaoke performance with James
Oh,
Corden?
oh yeah.
Pure gold.
Or their legendary Run BTS episodes where they compete in everything from cooking to escape rooms to, well, just about anything you can imagine. One of my personal favorite episodes is the one where they try to make pottery. Let's just say it was pure chaos with clay flying everywhere and more laughs than finished products.
They're not afraid to like let loose, be silly and show their fans their true personalities.
And it's that authenticity, that
Yeah.
that makes them so relatable and lovable. It's like they're inviting us into their world, sharing their joys and their silliness along with their music.
And speaking of their world, let's talk about their fan base, Army, for a moment. Okay,
Sure.
we've touched on their dedication and their global reach,
Right.
but there's so much more to this fandom than meets the eye.
ARY is more than just a group of fans, It's a community, it's a movement, it's a force for good. They've organized countless charitable initiatives, translated BTS content into like dozens of languages, and even mobilized to combat like online hate and negativity.
That's impressive. It sounds like they've built a real sense of community and purpose within their fandom.
They have, and that sense of shared identity and purpose is part of what makes them so powerful.
Mhm.
They're united by their love for BTS, but they're also driven by a desire to make a positive impact on the world.
They're fiercely loyal, incredibly supportive, and always ready to defend BTS against any
Well,
criticism.
we are.
But it's not just about like blind devotion, right?
Yeah.
They also hold BTS accountable, challenging them to grow and learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a healthy dynamic, one built on mutual respect and a shared desire for growth. It's not just about, worshiping idols. It's about supporting them on their journey,
Yeah.
the highs and the lows.
And let's not forget the memes,
Or
right?
I mean,
Like Aryan is notorious for its meme making prowess.
oh, absolutely. From reaction gifs to inside jokes to hilarious edits. I mean, they've turned BTS content into an endless source of online entertainment. Their creativity knows no bounds.
It's a testament to their creativity, their humor, and their ability to find joy in even most mundane moments.
And it's a reminder that fandom can be a powerful force for connection, for creativity, and positive change. It's not just about consuming content. It's about creating and sharing, building something together.
So as we wrap up the second part of our deep dive into the world of BPS, let's take a moment to reflect on their impact, their legacy, and their future. I mean, they've come a long way from those humble beginnings in a small dorm room.
They have. They've shattered records, they've broken barriers, and they've inspired millions of people around the world with their music, their message, and their story.
They've proven that music can transcend language and cultural differences, uniting people from all walks of life.
And their journey is far from over.
As they navigate, their solo careers, their military service, and their eventual reunion as a group, we can't wait to see what they'll accomplish next.
Right.
What are you most looking forward to?
I'm excited to see how their individual growth, during this time apart, how that will influence their music as a group. Will they experiment with new sounds? Will they delve deeper into their personal experiences? Only time will tell, but I have a feeling it's going to be something extraordinary.
It's going to be fascinating to see how they evolve as a group, how their sound matures, and how they continue to push boundaries. And with their full group comeback on the horizon, anticipation is running high among fans.
It's palpable. The energy within Army is electric. Everyone is eagerly awaiting, their return.
Well, we've delved into their history, explored their individual journeys, and marveled at the power of their fandom.
We have.
But we're not quite done yet.
No.
There's still more to uncover, more layers to peel back, more insights to gain. Are you ready to dive even deeper?
I'm all in. Let's explore the nuances of their impact, the controversies they've faced, and the legacy they're building. There's always more to learn, more to discover, more to appreciate about this extraordinary group.
Okay, so we've touched on like the controversies BTS has faced, but I think it's worth like diving a little deeper,
Yeah.
to really understand the complexities of their journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important to acknowledge that, their path to global stardom, I mean, it hasn't been without, its bumps.
We mentioned like the plagiarism accusations earlier in their career.
Right.
How did they handle like that
Well,
situation?
they, addressed the accusations head on. They apologized and they took steps to ensure that it wouldn't happen again.
Right.
It was a learning experience for them, and they demonstrated a willingness to take responsibility for their actions.
And then there were also some lyrics that sparked like debates about cultural sensitivity. How did
Yeah.
those situations like play out?
Well, in those instances, they engaged in dialogue with those who were offended. They listened to their perspectives, and they made like adjustments to their approach.
Right.
It
Right.
was clear that they were committed to learning and growing from those experiences.
It's refreshing to see a group that's willing